Today, we're gonna talk about the 10 weirdest last meal requests on death row. A condemned prisoner's last meal is a customary ritual preceding execution. In many countries, the prisoner may, within reason, select what the last meal will be. Number 10. Victor Harry Feger. Victor Feger was tried and convicted of murder in federal court for his crimes. He was sentenced to death by hanging. Victor submitted an appeal, which was denied. At that point, only President John F. Kennedy could have commuted the death sentence. Iowa's then governor, Harold Hughes, a death penalty opponent, along with Victor's attorney, contacted Kennedy to request clemency for Victor. Kennedy thought that the crime was so brutal that he denied their request. Victor was put to death at the age of 28. For his last meal, he requested a single olive with the pit in it. Number 9. Timothy McVeigh. Timothy McVeigh was the American terrorist behind the Oklahoma City bombing, which killed 168 people and 680 others were injured. The bombing was the deadliest act of terrorism within the United States prior to the September 11 attacks, and till date, it remains the deadliest act of domestic terrorism in the United States. He was put to death in Indiana by lethal injection at the age of 33. He was sentenced to death for 168 counts of murder. For his last meal, McVeigh requested 2 pints of mint chocolate chip ice cream. Number 8. Angel Nieves Diaz. Angel Diaz was put to death in Florida by lethal injection at the age of 55. He was sentenced to death for murder, kidnapping, and armed robbery, though he maintained his innocence until his death. Diaz declined a last meal, so he was served the regular prison meal, which he declined to eat as well. Number 7. Stephen Michael Woods Jr. Stephen Woods was sentenced to death after a jury convicted him of the capital murders of a young drug dealer and his wife. In 2004, Woods was fighting for prisoner rights. In late 2006, Woods was part of a hunger strike in Polunsky to oppose death row inmates' treatment. The fairness of Woods' case and punishment was highly criticized by American philosopher, cognitive scientist, historian, and political activist Noam Chomsky and human rights group Amnesty International. Woods' criminal case was reported locally and internationally. His final motion for a stay was denied on September 2, 2011. 11 days later, he was executed by lethal injection. He had a crazy last meal request, which is as follows.
Where do you come from, Stephen?
I come from just around Detroit, Michigan, Livonia.
Wow, it's cold up there.
Yeah, well, it's nice. It's not 110 degrees.
What brought you to Texas?
I was trying to get to California. I was hitchhiking. I've been on the street since I was about 16 years old. I got locked up when I was 21, so I spent the most of my adult life out there. I was just trying to get to California, and I wasn't the best geography student. Ended up landlocked in Dallas.
Number 6. John Wayne Gacy. Serial killer John Wayne Gacy was put to death in Illinois by lethal injection at the age of 52. The killer clown was sentenced to death for the rape and 33 counts of murder. For his last meal, Gacy requested 12 fried shrimp, a bucket of original recipe KFC, French fries, and a pound of strawberries. One fun fact, prior to being convicted, Gacy managed 3 KFC outlets. Number 5. Ricky Ray Rector. Ricky Ray Rector was put to death in Arkansas by lethal injection at the age of 42. He was sentenced to death for 2 counts of murder. For his last meal, Rector requested and received a steak, fried chicken, cherry Kool-Aid, and pecan pie. Rector left the pie on the side of the tray, telling the corrections officers who came to take him to the execution chamber that he was saving it for later. The slice of pecan pie was not disposed of until Rector had been executed. Number 4. Robert Alton Harris. Robert Alton Harris was executed by gas chamber in 1992 for the 1978 murders of 2 teenage boys in San Diego. His execution was the first in the state of California since 1967. For his last meal, he wanted a 21-piece bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken, 2 large Domino's pizzas, ice cream, a bag of jelly beans, a 6-pack of Pepsi, and a pack of Camel cigarettes. Robert's execution is specifically remembered for his choice of final words. "You can be a king or a street sweeper, but everybody dances with the Grim Reaper." This is a line from the 1991 film Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Number 3. Ronnie Threadgill. Ronnie Threadgill was put to death in Texas by lethal injection at the age of 40. He was sentenced to death for murder. For his last meal, Threadgill requested baked chicken, mashed potatoes with country gravy, vegetables, sweet peas, bread, tea, water, and punch. However, Texas abolished last meal choice in 2011, so Threadgill was just given the same meal as everyone else in his unit. Number 2. Ronnie Lee Gardner. Ronnie Lee Gardner received the death penalty for murder in 1985 and was executed by a firing squad by the state of Utah in 2010. Gardner's attorney said that his client did not want to attract attention and simply preferred to die this way because, in 1985, Gardner himself famously quoted, "I'd prefer to die of old age, Your Honor, but if that ain't possible, I'll take the firing squad." For his last meal, Gardner requested steak, a lobster tail, apple pie, vanilla ice cream, and to eat it all while watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Number 1. Ted Bundy. Chris Hagen, Kenneth Misner, Officer Roseland, Richard Burton, and Rolf Miller. These were some of the names used by Theodore Robert Bundy. One of the most notorious serial killers in American history was put to death in Florida by electric chair at the age of 43. He was sentenced to death for rape, necrophilia, prison escape, and more than 35 counts of murder. Bundy declined a special meal, so he was given the traditional last meal: steak cooked medium rare, eggs over easy, hash browns, toast with butter, and jelly, milk, and juice. So, these were some of the last meals of death row prisoners. They speak volumes about the nature of the inmates.